Well, hello and welcome back. Today, continuing with Krastorio 2 here. So, first off, I want to start heading towards getting utility tech cards. But that's going to be requiring the rare metals from getting down that patch there. And to do that, I'm also going to want to clear out some more bideness. So, get some physical projectile damage and also grab the necessary researches for getting the utility tech cards, which isn't too hard. Then we can come up here and start looking at getting a couple more things out of here. Namely, the advanced circuits and also pulling advanced circuits out and getting the production tech cards in. So that's not too bad. Just get the tracks laid down and get everything set up to be able to go out this spot here where I set it before. Clear it out and just manually place it down because it's outside the range of the bots. So just get everything placed down for future expansion, get it all signaled up with the appropriate one so it shouldn't lock up, and also get a few other ones in here. So now we can get in the item loader and item unloader. The item loader for pulling out the advanced circuits here, and the unloader to unload, the production tech cards. Both of these can be placed down easily and get down the appropriate balances for the way it's been pinged out. And so now we can also get the advanced circuits coming in and being fed into this one so they are available to the rail network, and also make sure that the stations are actually set up properly for the different ones we've got here. So first off, we get a train in set up for pulling the production tech cards over here, the usual thing, and also take a look at a few other things here because we've got a bit of expansion we can do here, and also get the spot set up for where I'm going to have the cards come through. Looking at it, probably going to want to get the utility tech card set up as well so I can easily get that up and running, but it's not too big of a deal. Actually, we'll get that placed in as well. Won't actually get that hooked up yet because we don't actually have it being made, but we'll get there. So just easily have them all going to the same line and feed it in. So now I don't have to worry about reshuffling things again. So that's all well and good. Now we can make sure that that's actually set up correctly for what I want as well, being our utility tech card requester. So now everything's looking pretty much running nicely here. So now I can go through and with those, physical projectile researchers, I can actually go through and get rid of quite a number of these biter nests down here just by using good old turret creep. Really useful. So go through, repair up all the turrets we broke that got damaged, and eliminate them all here. A bit annoying because we do also get behemoths coming out now because of the evolution factor, but hey, it is what it is. So with this final one here, that clears up enough space for where I plan to put my defenses down because that's all well and good, which we'll get up running. So yeah, in between I actually do get through and place down our defenses, some of the defenses, like expand the left wall all the way down, and also get the entire road network down, as well as the basis for what I'm going to do for my train network. But now I need to get prepared for rare metal processing. So come back over to here with ores coming in, because I'll still be using these size trains for ores coming in, which isn't too bad. So we just need to add another or unload it here, make sure it's in place and connect that up, and also pull it out as well. So that gives us a spot to unload all the rare metals as well, and also make sure that they're going to the outside of the appropriate areas, which can be a bit of a pain, but get that all hooked up, and we have the signals being placed down to let things run smoothly, which I do need to connect that up to the network as well, which isn't too hard, but we'll get there eventually. But we then come through and pull out 2 belts of the rare metal ores here and pull them down because, we need about 1.5 to get 1 belt of rare metals, which is kind of what I want to go for at the moment. So get that all down, place them, connect them to the processing line, which happens to be the exact same as everything else, but it needs hydrogen chloride to actually refine the rare metals. So make sure that everything is hooked up. It still has the dirty water out, so easily enough to just hook that up into where it's coming out, so do that. It doesn't really matter about where I place those, just want them in line with the water inputs for those ones. And to get that, get them all powered up, and we can see here, yep, the red metals will come out of here once I've actually got everything up and running. So we need to get a couple more ones down, stations down here. One for the red metals going out, and another one for hydrogen chloride coming in. Which at first I don't think about the hydrogen chloride because, yeah, forget about that. But then I realized, yeah, I do need another one for hydrogen chloride. So just make sure that everything runs out nicely with the appropriate ones here, and set that up for red metals being pulled out. Get that all hooked up and everything runs smoothly. And yeah, remember that, yeah, I also need another one station here for the hydrogen chloride, so get the station in the appropriate distance and get a fluid one to work out as well. That should all work out nicely, but also change up how we're going pulling out, because I can use a top-up pipe coming out from the tanks into the fluid network here, and that will make sure that it'll keep the fluids topped up, without having to have a pump. So it's fine. It'll also keep some space in there as well. Currently set up to 80% because, well, that's what it'll be. But now we just need to get the hydrogen chloride being hooked up to the output here. Will I change it? No, yeah, I can't remember. But yeah, get a certain amount and get that all hooked up. And because we already have it being made, all I need to do is just set the appropriate one here and make the train to pull the hydrogen chloride down into here. With everything how it is, just making sure we've also got the water coming through, which isn't too hard. It's just placing down another straight inverter. And yeah, we can see here what I've got placed down. So that's good. So now get the train ready for the fluids, which is easy enough. Just set up for appropriate ones, make sure it gets fuel and whatnot. And that will work out and get the stuff needed for the hydrogen chloride to refine it. Now we come up here and we can easily get this hooked up for, well, pulling the rare ores out, mining rare ores and exploring it out to the ore refining spot. Which, easy enough, we just use an offshoot one to it can come out and both in and out there, so it works out. And because we're using the trains, which is like, what, 10 size, we need to make sure we have plenty of space here for everything. So let's make sure that there's enough space on the turnaround here for the train to go through and turn back around to go back out the other way, which there is. So get that placed down and start thinking about the loading up. Because we're going to have 8 wagons to load up, so get 8 warehouses, which I probably could have actually used a different one, but hey, this works out. And we need to make space for the warehouse as well, because it turns out there's a bit of space in there, and also because there's a sentinel there, we lose our radar coverage there. So that's fun. Get that placed down, and we can start thinking about placing down the warehouses. All 8 of them. Because it's annoyance with all that, we just get it all down, and we have like a certain amount, like I think it was 7 belts coming in from the mine. So we get the 7 to 8 balancer and feed that all in. So now I place 7 down at the moment, but it's fine. And we just connect up all the outputs from the mines into the, well, balancer here, and get that all up and working nicely. And so with that, I forget one thing. To mine the rare ores, I need chlorine. But good thing I actually have chlorine being made, so it's fine. We just grab another copy of that, get the fluid output, and see that power's not being distributed to these because, well, they're just not there yet. But we can wait for the train tracks to be placed down so I can actually get the appropriate spacing for the fluid. Place it all in here, and just need to use a piping to connect everything up, which isn't too hard at all. And then also need to pull it out, which I'll just use the same thing I did for the hydrogen chloride. Pull that all out, get the chlorine being connected up. Just need to power up the pumps to pump the chlorine out, and that'll work out nicely. We're still also going to need to make like 16 of the warehouses for this, which is very expensive steel-wise, but otherwise not too bad. And also make a few more. But get everything hooked up, and once we get the chlorine train in, the ores will start being mined, which is very, very useful. Just got to get, well, train placed in. Which first off, I think, place it down with the cargo wagons because, yeah, not forgetting that it's chlorine. It needs fluid wagons to transport it around, so do that. But we also get a few other ones plugged in. I also got make sure that there's plenty of connections up here. But yep, remembering, yeah, now we need the chlorine, the fluid tanks for that. So we get the fluid tanks placed down and also get the train already hooked up to be able to, well, with the appropriate schedule here. Let's get it fueled up and everything. We can then come back over here, rename a couple of stations because connecting them up, there's some which have the same names but they're different sized trains. So it's mainly the stone one, so I just changed it up to be appropriate and get it all done. So with that, we have rare metals being available now. So we can actually start thinking about the next part, which is going to be, well, the processing units. So get that placed down. And the processing units need like a few inputs, namely advanced circuits, electronic components. No, not electronic components. Rare metals and sulfuric acid, as well as the output. So that's 4 more stations we need to add on here. And then everything. So that's 3 outputs and 1 input. No, 3 unloading, 1 loading. Each for the appropriate ones. Which one of them actually needs to be fluid. Forgot about that. But hey, that's fine. We get the appropriate ones here. And yeah. Unloading and then start pacing down the designing it up, which is fairly simple because it's just, 2 items and a fluid. So start with about 4, going for 40 of these assemblers for making the processing units. It's very simple. And here remember that, yeah, I need to remove one of these because it's meant to be for fluid. It needs to be for sulfuric acid, which I do already have being made, so it works out nicely. Just using the same old top-up valves into the fluids, and that should work out nicely. So, get everything set up, and it's very simple. Just split off the line here. Probably could have had that go around and back around, but hey, this is fine. I'm only going to be using about half a belt of each of them, so get that placed down. We get 20, we get 40, so that's plenty here. And realize that, yeah, it might be a bit easier on this side up here to connect it up. Go on. So, get that all placed down, get the power up, and we should be getting a bit over the amount needed to make the utility tech cards. Because I'm not going for a full belt yet, because that is an insane amount of resources you need to be able to do that. Not insane, but it's a ridiculous, kind of a lot of resources. Let's go through, get everything named up for the appropriate ones, namely the red circuits, the rare metals requester, and sulfuric acid requester, not to mention the processing unit provider, which that all works out fairly nicely here, and make sure that get the trains up and running, which honestly isn't too hard. It's just the same old thing I've done plenty of times, getting the appropriate trains in here, fueling them up with enough fuel for them to get to the fuel station and everything. Yeah, and then because I built this all up without actually making sure the pipes were actually connected up in the appropriate way, I have to do that again. So go through and just make sure everything's connected appropriately to the appropriate ones, and unloading, and make sure that they all can get fueled up from the fuel stop, so that's fine. And then finally for the sulfuric acid, which isn't too bad because I've already got everything being made, so it's just a matter of getting stations connected up here. So that's all well and good. And now I can actually start thinking about the next one, which is, the ore train. Because I haven't actually connected that up yet. We've got everything ready for it pretty much, just haven't connected up. And we've also got all the warehouses made, all 16 of them, which is a lot. So make sure everything's being powered, and then we can get the train down for the appropriate ones in. Also get the fuel being loaded into them, because they're not really designed to go to the fuel station. So yeah, I need to really think about that. Oh, probably a better idea for it to be on a separate network, but it's fine. So I go through and get all set up with the appropriate ones, and yeah, when I redid the stone, it was not quite set up the way it should have been. But this should work, because they're constantly getting loaded with fuel at the station, so I don't have to worry about that. So that we got the ore being provided here, and now connect it up. So just use a couple of the T's, remove a couple of the interfering spots here, and we can just connect them up with the appropriate ones here. So now we've got the two systems unified, which probably is not the best idea, but it is a decent enough way to get the rare ores coming, or rare metal ore coming from inside to out there. And now I just need to also get the defenses up and running better. Continue it on. So yep, you can see here that everything's going through nicely. I'm just waiting for the last of the trains, rails to get down there for the train to actually take off and head towards where I want it to go at the moment. Which, see here shortly that, yep, the last of the train, rail's going in, train heads off and starts heading towards the rare ores. So I hitch a ride, and we can see here that, yeah, it's not going to start loading because I haven't gotten the 8 warehouses down for it. And yeah, there's some weirdness in the loaders with how they'll place down, because reasons. So I make sure that they're all unloading from the warehouse and loading onto the train, and that'd be pretty decent. It's all well and good. So we got the rare ores being mined, and all and good. Also add speed modules to the mines at some point. But now we can go on to start looking at the next one, which is going to be, well, low density structures. Getting enough for that, because we have everything on there. It's not too hard. It's just placing in the 4 stations with 1 for loading and 3 for unloading, getting them all set up for the appropriate ones, which is like, well, low density structures being provided. We need steel requesting, copper requesting, and plastic requesting, all to be able to make the enough low density structures, which I'm just going to get enough to make the utility tech cards I'm after at 1 a second. So get everything hooked up, telling nicely, and it's fairly simple because it's just 3 ingredients. So I just use my 2 belt layout, which is just like setting it all up like the usual one, and getting everything connected up with the outputs and everything. I needed quite a few of these, so I think I initially just end up going for like a good, nice, even 80 because of the sheer amount of them. So first up, we'll have 2 rows of these of 40 a piece, and yeah, started placing down without actually having everything properly hooked up. So we got 40, we got 80, and we'll just having one big loop pretty much going all the way around, so that will work out. Connect the 2 belts up and feed that into there. And that way I only have to worry about having 2 input lines here, which fairly simple with what I've got. Which I want to have one of the belts be primarily for copper. The steel and the glass can be, well, plastic can be shared on the other one, because that's like half a belt each, where the copper belt needs about a full belt of copper, about 30 seconds to be able to feed it all in. So get that done, and just wait for everything to be built up here, which works out very nicely. Also start thinking about maybe getting Kovacs enrichment process going, but don't have everything necessary for it, but we'll see. So now, I need to be able to get rocket fuel. And the easiest way I can just get that set up is just using light oil. So just go back to the oil production and add yet another station in here, which I need to do a bit of remodeling to be able to get the enter and exit out. So do that, and yeah, we just need 4 40 fuel refiners to be able to make the amount of light oil I need, which is not much, which is, honestly is just enough for well, the utility tech card production. So with two inputs here, we need oxygen and light oil. We need to I want to offset them to make it a bit nicer in the way that they connect up. But forgetting that I also need iron inputs, it makes it a bit more annoying when I need to place down everything I need. So we need to get all 40 of those placed down. And because, well, hand making everything just connect everything appropriately, we're going to need about 18 atmospheric condensers as well to hook everything up, but get that all placed down and get the input for the rocket fuel coming in here. Because I've already, well, pinched some of the iron that I've got coming out, so that's all I need to add. Make sure that everything's actually hooked up correctly, and this is when I realized, yeah, the oxygen is being a bit on the weird side. You know, how I'm going to have to connect it up. Especially considering I need to get atmospheric condensers down first, which is quite a number of them. So we get down my place for what I want and get everything placed in how nice. But there's a bit of a problem there, so we hit a snag, but we get everything placed in, and it's not too bad. We add a few more. And so that done, I go through and fix up the oxygen lines properly and get that done. And so now we get on to making the utility tech cards, which means we need 5 stations, because we need, well, the blank tech cards, we need the processing units, we need the, well, rocket fuel and the low density structures. So we go through and get everything placed up, which I also did fix the issue that was with the unloading blueprint. And because of the way this is, we just switch it up because I'm pulling out from the top and not the bottom. Yeah, annoying, but get it all placed in. We've got the 4 inputs and the 1 output. Get the appropriate ones in there. 1-6 for the loading and 6-1 for the unloading. That's all well and good. We get everything coming out, and I need about 10 research servers to be able to make the utility tech card. So at the rate I'm wanting, so easy enough to get that placed in. In fact, it's literally just a copy of the production tech cards. So get that placed down and get the appropriate ones in, which simple enough. Is just, well, 2 belts coming out with them all going like that, and that works out nicely for the utility tech cards. It's got to make the utility tech, well, advanced service to be able to make them, so that's a bit fun. But we get that all done and we set them to be utility tech cards as well. So yeah, here's the research servers. Make sure that they're all set up beforehand for what I want, because it's a bit easier to do that than having to go into each one and change them up. So get that, we get the 10 there, and now we can get the, well, stations all set up for the proper ones with the blank tech cards, the processing units, the low density structures, I think, or was it rocket fuel cells? Oh, whatever. We get them all placed, named correctly, so we can do that, and we can then get the trains up and running as well. It's not too hard to get everything. There's a few inconsistencies with my setup because, well, running low on a few resources, but once all these trains are in, we'll be able to start seeing enough, well, utility tech card production to do that. I'm just gonna wait for the robots to bring the locomotives and the cargo wagons in. You can see here that, yeah, everything is looking very nicely, and the glass is built up, so there's probably something up with my stone processing. I'll worry about that later. But see here that, yep, we can just get everything in. So the blank tech cards, simple enough. We go to the provider, get them filled up and whatnot. Get them, also get it being fueled up as well. We can also do the same for the processing units, because just adding in one by one. Then what, the low density structures, which is just above the processing unit production, because, well, that's close enough, and we can easily add more in. And finally, second last, we can get the rocket fuel, which where we add onto the oil there, And finally, we can get the utility tech cards because I've already got the utility tech card station there. We can easily just add those both in and start seeing that, yep, everything's running. So we've got the blank tech cards come in nicely, and also nothing else yet because there isn't quite enough everywhere, but we can just get enough to get an idea. So we've got the processing units as well now, and start taking a look at a few other things here. These not too much in the way for load instructions because I haven't actually placed the trains down for that, which is the copper, glass, and what's glass? No, plastic and steel. Yeah, copper, plastic, and steel all coming in. So need to build the trains for those as well, which annoyingly it takes a while. I should actually tend to keep a few more trains on me to speed the process up, but hey, this works. Get the locomotives coming in and keeping a little bit of fuel on me to be able to kickstart a few things. So get them all placed up appropriately. So for copper, getting down the plastic, which is already on this network as well. Get that, make sure that's getting filled up. And finally steel, which I did add a steel one here, which is just pinching off from steel I'm already producing, which I'm going to need to increase that. But yeah, that's all working out nicely. So once we've got enough of the resources here, checking out that, yeah, my defenses are still working at the moment, so that's fine. But it's not enough to really hold off the big attacks, I think. But we can see here, we got everything just waiting for them all to fill up the appropriate ones. So there's copper coming back, the plastic's on its way over, and the steel, yeah, that's almost filled up. So there's enough to actually do what I'm after. So we get the steel coming through, we've got the classic, we've got copper, and we can see here that low density structures are being made very slowly, but they are, and so that would be enough to, well, start doing a little bit here. And because the amount, it will be consistent and get me a decent amount, but just gotta wait for everything to come through. So yeah, have loaded structures and see a few things that weren't quite right, but got that hooked up correctly here. And with what we got, I think there's enough here that I could actually just see that everything works. So we just want the rocket fuel and the low density structures. So we'll call both of those trains over. And we can see here that they are unloading, and not too many low density structures because it just got running, but this first research server is not quite working because of a few things, but we do have the utility tech cards, and so I think it's a good spot to call it here. So I'll call it the end of the episode here, so you can comment, like, subscribe down below. Really helps out with YouTube discovery and whatnot. And that. Thank you all for watching. Catch you all next time.